I never thought I'd see the day where trust in a marriage could be shattered so completely. And yet here I was, holding a DNA report in my hands that proved the unimaginable. The woman I had loved, the mother of my children, had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide the truth. It started with suspicion. Small things, subtle inconsistencies, her late nights at work, sudden defensiveness when I asked about her day, and phone calls that ended abruptly whenever I entered the room. First, I dismissed them. I wanted to believe. I tried to convince myself that I was imagining it all. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and like a weed it grew. One evening, after a particularly tense argument about our finances, I noticed something odd in our shared documents. An unusual file labeled Medical Report Private. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. My heart sank. It was a DNA report, and at first glance it didn't make sense. It claimed our youngest son, Liam, was not my biological child. My stomach twisted, rage and disbelief colliding inside me. I confronted her that night, holding the printout tightly. "Emily, what is this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She froze, her face pale, and then a mask of calmness replaced the panic. It's probably a clerical error," she said. "Clerical error?" I laughed bitterly. "This is a DNA report, Emily. A legal document. And it clearly says he isn't mine." She stammered, but her excuses were weak. I could see the truth behind her eyes, the guilt, the fear, the realization that she had been caught. But I also saw something more chilling. She had altered the report. She had manipulated the results to hide her affair, to protect herself. That night I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her lies stand. I couldn't. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for my dignity, my children, and the truth. The next day I filed for divorce. But I didn't stop there. I prepared every piece of evidence meticulously, planning to expose her deception in a way she could never deny. The courtroom became my stage, the report my weapon, and her lies, the truth's undoing. The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was quiet, tense. Friends and family whispered nervously in the back, while Emily sat across from me, attempting an air of composure that barely concealed her panic. I could see it, the subtle tremor in her hands, the way her eyes darted toward the papers I carried. When the judge called the case, I stood confidently, my evidence ready. I laid out the timeline first. The inconsistencies, the sudden secrecy, the odd hours. Every detail was precise. Every claim supported by messages, emails, and photos that left no room for doubt. Then came the DNA report. I placed the original and the altered version side by side for the court to see. "Your Honor," I said, my voice firm, "what we have here isn't a mistake or an oversight. This is deliberate manipulation. A woman who tried to hide the truth from her husband, her children, and the law itself." Gasps filled the courtroom. Emily's lips pressed into a thin line, and I could feel the heat of the room shifting toward me. Her lawyer scrambled, but the evidence spoke louder than any defense could. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The truth carried its own weight. "This isn't just about a report," I continued. "It's about trust, about integrity, and about the right of a husband to know the truth about his family. Every alteration, every lie has consequences. And today we make them accountable." The judge reviewed the documents, his brow furrowed. Emily's composure cracked under the silent scrutiny of the courtroom. I watched as friends and relatives shifted in their seats, murmuring quietly. The power of truth was undeniable. I paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Then with calm finality I said, "I am requesting full custody, a fair division of assets, and acknowledgement of the deceit that has taken place. The manipulation of a legal document is not only a betrayal of our marriage, but a violation of the law." Emily's eyes welled up, not with relief or repentance but fear. And in that fear, I saw her finally understand the consequences of her actions. The lies she had built her safety upon were crumbling, right before her eyes. The room was silent, heavy with tension and the realization that deceit, no matter how carefully hidden, could never survive exposure. Emily's lawyer attempted to interject, but the judge raised a hand, signaling him to stop. "We will review the evidence as presented," he said firmly. "Manipulating a DNA report is a serious offense, and the court takes this matter gravely." I watched Emily shrink in her seat, the confident, defiant woman I once knew now reduced to guilt and panic. She had underestimated not only me but the power of the truth. Every glance around the room reminded her that the people she thought she could deceive, family, friends, and the legal system, were now witnessing her unraveling. When the judge called for a brief recess, I took a deep breath and let the tension roll off my shoulders. Outside, Lily, my closest friend and emotional anchor, stood by my side. "You did it," she whispered. "You stood your ground." I nodded. "It's not about me. It's about showing that lies don't last. That trust, once broken, can be acknowledged and corrected publicly. No one should ever think they can manipulate truth for their own selfish gains." Back in the courtroom, the proceedings resumed. I presented additional proof: text messages, bank statements, and witness accounts that painted a complete picture of Emily's deception. The judge reviewed each piece meticulously, occasionally glancing at Emily, whose composure had completely collapsed. Finally, he spoke. "Given the evidence presented and the clear attempt to manipulate legal documents, this court finds sufficient grounds to grant full custody of the children to the petitioner. The marriage is dissolved on the basis of deceit, and further legal action regarding asset division will follow accordingly." A heavy silence filled the room. Emily's face was pale, lips quivering, and she could no longer meet my gaze. For months, she had tried to control the narrative, to hide her betrayal, to maintain an illusion of innocence. But now, in public, every lie was exposed. I felt a strange sense of relief. Not joy, not triumph in cruelty, but relief that the truth had prevailed, that justice, quiet, firm, and unyielding, had been served. As we walked out of the courthouse, the sun broke through the clouds, warm and promising. I knew the road ahead would be challenging, rebuilding trust and life after betrayal. But for the first time, I felt free. Free from lies, free from manipulation, and free to move forward with clarity and dignity. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Deception can only survive in the shadows. Once the light shines, it crumbles. And truth, no matter how hidden, always finds its way. The lies were gone. The past was exposed. And I could finally begin again.